Welcome to the Directors Guild of Canada BC's online learning system. The module you've just started will explain production insurance documents as they pertain to their use in the locations department. Should take about 15 minutes for you to complete this module. Production insurance documents are issued to locations anytime there is either potential for damage to a location or when you want to give a location owner or representative peace of mind that adequate insurance is in place. This could include key or secondary filming locations, adjacent properties where more minor uses are occurring, such as parking, holding, or cabling through. It may also include properties where no planned activity is taking place, but where there is a high possibility of crew accessing the property, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Properties that are immediate neighbors to a filming location, for example. In short, production insurance documents are issued anytime there is potential for a person or a piece of equipment to come into contact with a property. Let's begin with some general information around production insurance as it pertains to the use of locations. When it comes to the timing of insurance being issued, it's very important to ensure that you provide the insurance prior to any work being done at the location. There are two different types of certificates that can be provided. The one we use most often is a certificate of additional insured. These certificates name the location owner as being additionally insured. By using this certificate, the location is covered by production insurance if something happens that requires a claim be made. The second is a simple proof of insurance document, also called an evidence of insurance. This can be used for locations where the risks are limited, but you want to provide evidence that the production is carrying insurance. One example might be a business down the street from your location who are nervous about the filming activity on the street. If there are no production activities planned to take place near to their property, then you won't need to incur the cost and added step of adding the business as additionally insured. However, providing a proof of insurance document will offer them comfort that they will not be at risk as a result of the filming. As a general rule on most productions, if you have planned activity on a property, you would default to the added level of protection that an additional insured policy provides. These are the key bits of information on your production insurance policy from the location department's perspective. The insured production company refers to the legal name of the production company itself. Effective and expiry dates are key. On shorter shows with one-off production company entities, the policy will have been purchased recently and should be in effect through the production period, including prep, shoot, and wrap. On television series that run multiple seasons, it's important to note when the production policy expires. Before this occurs, the locations department will need to reissue new policies that will take effect as the old ones are expiring. Additional insured will be the name and address of the location that's being insured. Production title will be listed as well. There will always be a section that lists the amount of insurance provided on the certificate under each type of coverage, such as property damage and third-party liability, for example. The insurance agent or broker who issued the certificate will also be listed on the policy document. There are two types of insurance called occurrence coverage and claims made coverage. An occurrence policy protects the insured from any covered incident that occurs during the policy period, regardless of when a claim is filed. This type of policy will respond to claims made even after the policy has been canceled, so long as the incident occurred during the period in which the coverage was in force. In effect, an occurrence policy offers permanent coverage for incidents that occur during the policy period. Claims-made policies provide coverage for claims only when both the alleged incident and the resulting claim happen during the period the policy is in force. Claims made to the insurance company after the coverage period ends will not be covered, even if the alleged incident occurred while the policy was in force. It's very unlikely that you'll encounter a production liability policy in Canada that's written on a claims-made basis. Most insurance brokers would not allow this as the exposure to production is too serious of a risk. Some work done on location may require that insurance coverages be increased. This might be the case if you were working in a location where the value of the property or its contents are especially high. It may also be that the work you're proposing to do at the location poses an especially high amount of risk. Stunts, special effects, or particularly invasive set builds would all be examples. The production coordinator is usually very knowledgeable about production insurance, and they can be a good first contact when you think you need increased insurance. Keep in mind there will also be language around increased coverage that will be added to the location agreement. There are some filming elements that will always trigger a requirement for added insurance. Work that involves watercraft or aircraft, trains or railroads, complex stunts, special effects, or pyrotechnics, working with some types of animals, and other high-risk activities. In these circumstances, you'll need to coordinate with the insurance person at the studio, as well as the producer and production manager. Best to reach out to them as early as possible. Likely they will also involve risk management and the production executives. Production insurance will cover physical damage to the locations in which you work, or to any of the contents located within. For a claim to be made, any damage must have resulted from production's activities. It's not safe to assume just because something gets broken when production is filming on site that production insurance will cover it. It will typically need to be clearly proven that the event causing the damage was due to something that production either did or perhaps didn't do. Insurance claims where owner negligence is involved can be a bit of a gray area. Whether or not a claim is accepted will depend on the specific details of a situation and will vary from one claim to the next. For this reason, when seeking places to film sets that are described as rundown, decrepit, or abandoned, keep in mind that the most desirable locations from a look perspective may also present very real deficiencies that could be dangerous. When you find what seems like the perfect location, you'll want to ensure that you assess its safety before moving forward with its use. Also important to keep in mind that there are always other insurances in place that may come into play. Cars that are being driven on BC roads when they are unsecured require ICBC vehicle insurance, and production insurance does not replace this. Workers are covered by WorkSafe BC insurance, and the home and its contents will still be covered by homeowners insurance for any damage that's unrelated to production. In addition to property damage, production insurance will cover liability in the rare instance where a non-crew member gets hurt on the set. As mentioned, crew injury will be covered by the no-fault insurance that WorkSafe BC provides. This would apply to any supplier or other workers on the site as well through their own employers. However, in the event that a non-working person, such as a neighbor, were injured, the liability for this would be covered by production insurance to protect the homeowner from any legal action that might result. Again, the cause would need to result from the filming activities in order for a valid claim to be made. This coverage is usually of the most concern to location owners, as the legal cost of a claim that might result from a serious injury or death could be financially crippling. Locations personnel know that damage happens at locations quite frequently, and homeowners should be prepared for such an event, if only to assure them that the productions carry adequate insurance. That said, claims are quite rare, and not all instances of damage will result in a claim. An insurance claim will not result in circumstances where the cost of the repair is less than the cost of the deductible. Lower deductibles are more expensive, and of course the hope is never to use production insurance. As a result, production insurance deductibles are typically set quite high, with a minimum of $2,000 to $3,000. This means most smaller bits of damage, such as paint scuffs, grass damage, and broken items, are simply paid for by the production versus an insurance claim being made. When a claim is made, the locations department will have a role to play. Initially, this will be to provide whatever information and documentation is required to trigger the claim. This may include filling out forms and will also involve making various related location documents available, such as location agreements, permits, or other documents that might be relevant. Then, they will assist the adjuster in gaining access as required to gather the claim-related information. Claims can drag on for some time if they are complex. Insurance policies and location agreements will always carve out wear and tear. And this is another gray area, but in general terms, if an instance of damage would not have happened without the film crew being there, then it's likely not to be considered wear and tear. Another thing to consider is whether the damage can be cleaned, as would be the case with shoe scuffs versus actual scratches in a floor, or damage that will be restored naturally over time, as happens to grass that's been trampled or eroded. Following are the basic details that the Locations Department will provide in the event of a claim. Documentation of exactly what happened will be crucial. This will take the form of detailed photos and notes. Key points that must be included would be date and time of the occurrence, who was involved in the incident, specifically what happened, and the contact information for any witnesses. The location manager will walk the claims adjuster through the site to explain what happened, and their statement will form a part of the claim documentation. Timely gathering of all the relevant details is incredibly important while everything is still fresh in everyone's mind. The most common amounts for production insurance are $5 million and $10 million. Certificates, also called Certs, for these amounts can be issued quite quickly. Usually they are prepared by the production office with no other involvement required. However, it's still a good idea to provide at least 24 hours of turnaround whenever possible. It's also a really good idea to speak to your production coordinator ahead of time about how much lead time they will require to produce certificates. When higher insurance amounts are required, you will need to involve a number of additional people. Beginning with the production coordinator, production manager, and producer, this group will determine who else from the studio will need to be looped in. Likely this will include production executives and risk management. This process also will take additional lead time, so make sure you plan well ahead. Some studios will instruct the production insurance person not to release certificates without a signed location agreement in hand. However, if you tend your relationships effectively, you may be able to relax some of these guidelines as things progress. One tool that may assist you in avoiding insurance claims is the practice of documenting pre-existing damage to locations in advance of your arrival. Having a full, detailed set of photos, and perhaps some video as well, of any location in advance of when the crew get there is often key in determining if damage was done by the production team. If you don't understand your insurance needs or the insurance that has been provided, you should reach out to the studio insurance person. Make sure you copy the production manager and the production coordinator on these communications as well. As with all things locations related, the most important thing to know about production insurance is that there are a team of people who are ready and willing to answer any questions you may have. Regardless of the situation you may find yourself in, there is certainly someone on that team who has the answers you need. Never hesitate to reach out to your production coordinator, production manager, producer, or studio insurance contacts for the information that you need. When it comes to insurance, there are literally no dumb questions. It's always better to ask than to make an assumption. I hope that you've enjoyed this video module. If you have any thoughts or comments on this module, please feel free to share them with us by emailing training@dgcbc.com.